Good morning. This is David Bennett, and this is Bitcoin And, a podcast where I try to find the edge effect between the worlds of Bitcoin, gaming, permaculture, podcasting, and education to gain a better understanding of all. Edge effect is a concept from ecology describing a greater diversity of life where the edges of two systems overlap. While species from either system can be found at the edge, it is important to note there are species in the overlap that exist in neither system, and that is what I seek to uncover. So join me in discovering the variety of things being created as Bitcoin rubs up against other systems.
It is 8:58 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It is the 13th day of August, 2024, and this is episode 935 of Bitcoin. And we got a couple of pieces of news from Marathon Digital. We'll talk a little bit about Kamala Harris and the fact that she may, continue the Biden administration's attack on Bitcoin and other things. 3AC liquidators are back in the news. It's gonna be a goddamn bloodbath over there, man. I swear to God. And then there's some Mempool news that I think really demonstrates how it's absurd when people say that there's nothing going on in Bitcoin, that there's no development whatsoever. It's insane. I've never understood that attitude myself, because every time I turn around, something new is just dropped. Either a new integration between two completely different products, and we'll get into one of those today, or something like what's going on with Mempool and their acceleration feature. El Salvador is back in the news with yet another investment. We'll see if that one, actually materializes, unlike the Hilton Hotel debacle. And then, we've got this Zeus thing, Metaplanet. There's all kinds of interesting stuff happening today. So let's just bail on into this first one here about Marathon Digital. It's kind of embarrassing, so get ready for just a bit of cringe. From Bitcoin Magazine and Nick Hoffman, Marathon Digital is now stamping all of the Bitcoin they mine in America as made in U.S.A. Yes, they're doing that in the header. It's all patriotic and shit, right? So Marathon Digital Holdings, a leading U.S.-based Bitcoin mining company, has announced that all Bitcoin blocks mined in America will now be stamped with the label Made in USA. The company declared on Twitter, quote, "Mara is Team USA, proudly declared in each American-made Bitcoin block we mine," end quote. Telling you, man, this is a bit cringe. Fred Thiel, CEO of Marathon Digital, emphasized this commitment, stating, quote, "Every block mined by Mempool in the USA is proudly stamped Made in USA. We are the only large-scale miner who can do this because we run our own pool and ensure that all the blocks mined by Mempool are made in the USA," end quote. This initiative coincides with comments made earlier this summer by presidential candidate Donald Trump, who expressed a desire for all of the remaining Bitcoin to be, quote, made in the USA, as Trump believes more Bitcoin mining done in the country will contribute to America's goal of becoming energy dominant. He also reiterated his support for domestic Bitcoin mining at the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, pledging to ensure that American miners receive the electricity they need to mine more Bitcoin here in the USA. Earlier today, Marathon Digital announced a $250 million private offering. We'll get to that in a second in the second story, but I just can't help myself. I'm looking at the tweet from Bitcoin Magazine. Just in, Marathon announces it is now stamping each Bitcoin block it mines with Made in USA. And of course, they provide a little screenshot of the block header of this particular block that was mined by Mara. And highlighted in the block header is Mempool Made in USA. Honestly, who cares? How is this not just lip service? And I don't even know who they're paying lip service to. It doesn't matter if the block is found in the USA, and you would actually have to stamp all the you'd have to treat it like an inscription and an ordinal for this to carry through, because who gives a shit about the block? I mean, I care about the block insofar as that it represents the security of the transactions in the block, but it's not like the Satoshis in the block that is mined is somehow or another going to be irreparably changed by the fact that it was included in a particular block that was mined in the USA. So what they should have just said is, instead of Mempool made in USA, they should have just say Mempool mined in USA. That would actually make a little bit more sense, considering that it's the only thing really being mined is the block. But understand that the header of the block has absolutely nothing to do with the transactions that are inside the block. So it's not like all of a sudden, if I make another transaction, like let's say that I made a transaction, it was included in a block that was mined by Mara, and all of a sudden that transaction is in the block that is stamped made in USA in the block header. And then I make another transaction from, like, let's say that I got the Bitcoin in that transaction. Somebody was giving me a Bitcoin in that transaction, and that transaction was mined in the USA by Mara, and the block is stamped that way. And then I take those Satoshis and I put them into another transaction because I want to pay somebody. Do you think that transaction somehow or another is going to have any evidence whatsoever that the Satoshis that were put into that transaction is going to somehow or another carry within it forever made in USA? No, it won't. It's not. It's just this is dumb. It's lip service. It's this faux patriotism that just drives me crazy. So just understand that Mara, because they're doing this, is demonstrating that I don't think they actually care as much about Bitcoin as you think they do. Okay. Now, let's get on to the other Marathon news. Marathon Digital Holdings, in fact, is going to raise $250 million simply to buy more Bitcoin. Vivek Sen, also Bitcoin Magazine. Marathon, one of the U.S.'s largest publicly traded Bitcoin miners, announced plans to raise $250 million through a private offering of convertible senior notes. The funds will be used primarily to expand Marathon's Bitcoin holdings. The Nevada-based company operates a fleet of miners, producing around 579 Bitcoin in July. Marathon's balance sheet contains over 20,000 Bitcoin, which is worth well over $1.1 billion. Earlier in July, Marathon bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin on the open market as part of its long-term HODL strategy. The company said that it will hold all newly made Bitcoin as reserved, or newly mined Bitcoin as reserves. And this latest move to raise capital for direct Bitcoin purchasing mirrors the strategy pioneered by MicroStrategy. Yes, we know. Marathon aims to position itself atop the nascent but rapidly evolving Bitcoin mining and services industry by aggressively expanding its Bitcoin stack. This fundraising approach allows public equity investors indirect exposure to Bitcoin, with growing adoption from firms like MicroStrategy and Similar Scientific, as well as Metaplanet. Bitcoin is emerging as a corporate treasury asset class. Again, we know that as well. The MicroStrategy, what did they get? The playbook. Remember, Michael Saylor released the MicroStrategy playbook, I don't know, like 2.5 years ago, and nobody bit. It took a while. Now they're biting. Like I said, MicroStrategy and Similar Scientific seem well positioned to be able to do this because they actually have positive revenue flow from a completely different business model. But Metaplanet, it just seems that they're trying to save their own ass, as well as at least one other company whose name escapes me right now. And I don't think it works as well for them, although that doesn't mean that it won't work. I'm just saying it's almost a Hail Mary, which is okay. I'm not saying anything bad about that. I'm just saying that there doesn't seem to be an overarching high quality revenue model for something like Metaplanet, as opposed to Similar Scientific and clearly MicroStrategy, who's been selling business intelligence software for decades and decades. Now, you ready for the political stuff? You ready for Kamala Harris, the the Catless bag lady or whatever the hell J.D. Vance called her. Anyway, Kamala Harris may continue the Biden administration's crypto crackdown, Cointelegraph Zoltan Vardai. The vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, aims to maintain the Biden administration's stringent stance on cryptocurrency regulation. Harris is reportedly working with Brian Deese and Bharat Ramamurthy, two former economic advisors for the Biden administration, who have heavily opposed the previous Clarity for Payment Stablecoins Act of 2023 for being just too permissive for issuers. Harris's choice of economic advisors could signal her intention to continue the Biden administration's hostile crypto regulatory approach, according to Alex Thorne, the head of research at Galaxy, who wrote in an August 13th Twitter post, quote, "New evidence that Kamala Harris will continue the crypto crackdown. Her advisor choice suggests that she will keep Biden's hostile attitude to crypto," end quote. Harris is preparing to unveil plans regarding her economic policy agenda in a mid-August speech, which would offer investors more cues about her approach towards cryptocurrency regulation. In March of 2023, the U.S. banking system took a hit following the sudden collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the voluntary liquidation of Silvergate Bank. Signature Bank was also forced to close operations by New York regulators on March the 12th, 2 days after Silvergate Bank's liquidation. The sudden collapse of the three crypto-friendly U.S. banks was called Operation Choke Point 2.0 by crypto venture capitalist Nick Carter, who saw it as a coordinated effort to unbank the crypto industry. In a concerning sign for future crypto regulation, Deese and Ramamurthy were allegedly part of the operation, according to Galaxy's Thorne, who wrote, quote, "Deese and Ramamurthy are two key architects of the Biden administration's anti-crypto crusade, including Choke Point 2.0. Popular American business magazine Fortune has previously referred to Bharat as the White House's top crypto critic, who serves as a National Economic Council deputy director in the White House until October 2023. This is another reason why Harris's choice of economic advisor spells a tougher stance for the crypto industry," added Thorne, quote, "People are policy at the end of the day, and if Brian Deese, Bharat Ramamurthy, Wally Adeyemo et al. Are set to lead economic policy in a Harris-Waltz administration, it's very unlikely that the administration will soften its stance on crypto." The announcement comes a week after Harris revealed Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate for the 2024 U.S. presidential election on August the 6th. So who knows which way this is going, because right now the oracle that, and I can't remember who it is, it's some kind of crypto betting thing, and everybody knows its name but me, because it's, only 9:10 in the morning and I don't have more than 3 brain cells firing at any given time. I can't remember its name, but right now it's shifted to, I think Harris is pulled ahead by 50 to 54.6% in that particular style of polling. And then in the rest of the national polls, showing her ahead too. But, just do remember what happened in 2016, because all the polls, everything showed that, what's her face? Clinton was going to it was just going to be a drubbing, and then she ended up losing, and then we come to find out that there was all kinds of chicanery with the polling. So at this point, I don't know what the hell's going on. I can't believe a single thing that I hear any longer. We'll just have to figure that out. So anyway, let's move on to 3AC liquidators filing a $1.3 billion claim against Terraform Labs. Helen Part's Cointelegraph, liquidators of the collapsed cryptocurrency hedge fund, Three Arrows Capital. Remember Three Arrows Capital? That was sort of the entry point a couple of years ago to the whole FTX. And we talked about those crypto banks also folding. FTX, Alameda Research, BlockFi, 3AC, those three crypto banks, all of that kind of collapsed together. So I want you to remember, when we talk about 3AC, we're talking about just before that entire thing happened, and like the zombies always do, they are back because they filed a $1.3 billion claim in the Terraform Labs bankruptcy in Delaware federal court on August the 9th, according to a legal news service Law 360 report. In a proof of claim form, 3AC liquidators alleged that Terraform Labs misled the Singaporean hedge fund about the stability of tokens in the Terra ecosystem, including Terra's algorithmic stablecoin Terra USD and the UST-tied token Terra Luna, whose ticker symbol was Luna, or actually still is, because God forbid that it should actually die, right? The liquidators, represented by Russell Crumpler and Christopher Farmer of Teneo Holding, argued that Terraform Labs advertised the tokens in a manner that artificially inflated the price of the asset. Those misrepresentations and omissions induced 3AC to invest heavily in Terra just a few months after UST depegged from the dollar, causing a massive crash in the Terra ecosystem that impacted a lot of cryptocurrency firms. As such, 3AC liquidators are now seeking damages caused by its direct purchases of UST and Luna and associated damages from the complete loss of value of 3AC's cryptocurrency investments caused by the collapse of Luna and UST. The new claim by 3AC liquidators comes a few months after Terraform Labs co-founder Do Kwon was found liable for defrauding investors in a civil case with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission in April of 2024. Previously, Kwon was released from prison in Montenegro on extradition request from the United States as well as South Korea. Founded in 2012 by Columbia University alum Sue Zhu and Kyle Davies, 3AC was one of the largest crypto hedge funds, handling up to $18 billion in assets under management at its peak. Just a few months after Terra crashed, 3AC failed to meet margin calls from its lenders and filed for bankruptcy in late 2022. The company is currently proceeding with insolvency proceedings in the British Virgin Islands, and last year a court in those islands reportedly banned 3AC co-founders Zhu and Davies from transferring or selling assets worth up to $1.1 billion. 3AC's liquidator, Teneo, estimated that 3AC creditors were owed roughly $3.3 billion following its collapse in 2022. So the zombies are back. And just, I mean, this is just kind of par for the course. And anytime anything changes, like Do Kwon gets sued successfully in court for maybe something else, that will trigger a cascade of other people coming after what it is that they feel that they got. And the way that I feel about it is that you either knew or you should have known that this shit was a scam. And if you didn't, then you didn't do enough due diligence. There were many of us that didn't even have to look at the books of all these assholes, and we were screaming scam. We were screaming this is bullshit. We were telling everybody that would listen to us to get as far away from this crap as they possibly could, and everybody, as usual, just pointed to us or at us and laughed. Oh well, screw them all. Let's run the numbers. CNBC Futures and Commodities. West Texas Intermediate oil is down 2.2%, but still holding just above $78 a barrel. Brent North Sea likewise down 2% to 80.65. Natural gas is down also 2 points to $2.14 per thousand, and gasoline is down 2.65 to $2.37 a gallon. Gold is and palladium are the only shiny metal rocks that are doing anything at all today. Gold is up 0.18% to $25.0860. Silver is down 1.12%. Platinum is down 0.6%. Copper is down 0.7%, but palladium is up 2.5%. Ag is pretty much fully mixed. Biggest winner is chocolate. Yeah, chocolate making a rebound, 2.69%. Biggest loser today is going to be coffee, 3.92% to the downside. Live cattle is up 0.14%. Lean hogs down 3%. And feeder cattle up 0.1%. The Dow is up 2/3 of a point. S&P is up 1.14%. NASDAQ is up 1.8%. S&P Mini is up 0.82%. Clark Moody's dashboard flashing a price of Bitcoin at $59,960. That is holding at a $1.18 trillion market cap. And we can now only buy 24.2 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 19,739,211.74 of. Average fees per block have increased, but only slightly, to 0.06 BTC in fees on a per block basis. And how many blocks are there? But 121, and they are carrying 238,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 4 Satoshis per VByte. Low priorities are also 4 Satoshis per VByte. Hash rate is at 610 exahashes per second, and I saw yesterday that we hit an all-time high. I'm not sure what they were talking about, because I'm pretty sure that the all-time high was somewhere over 700 exahashes per second, and yesterday we didn't hit that, so I'm not exactly sure what those news stories were saying, but we are we are up there. I mean, it's just that this graph of hash rate is up and to the right, honestly. So I'm not worried about security of the system, like, at all. Now, Freedom Attacked, which was Bitcoin and episode 934. O2ZX boosted me 5,000 sats. Brother, thank you. Boosh! Albi interview. Love to hear a Plebman's AlbiHub medium deep dive, preparing to self-host it. Sometimes Audible sinks in better than written AMA. P.S. Sorry, last attempt at joke was bad delivery. Tried to reference last great Mitch Hedberg. Okay, Get Albi. I am working with one of the guys over at Get Albi now to get him on to talk about Get Albi, but I really want to start, to get a handle on this Albi Hub. I'm trying to sideload it into my Start 9, and it's just failing, and I don't understand why. I've got it unzipped. I mean, I've done all the instructions. The only thing that I can think of is that it's a large enough package that my wireless antenna is not fast enough, or my wireless gear on my computer isn't fast enough to get enough data over to the Start 9 via wireless. So I'm thinking that the Start 9 is going, dude, this isn't going fast enough. I'm just going to shut this shit down. I don't want to take forever doing this crap. So I might have to just go get me a landline and just physically connect my computer to the modem and see if that works. If it doesn't, I definitely want to talk about what's going on there. And I also want to talk about the user interface, about how is it that I can get somebody like the guy that I interviewed while I was up in Colorado, Cody. How can I get him to easily be able to self-host AlbiHub when he's got actual other stuff that he's got to go be doing? So I definitely want to talk to him about that. Anyway, the bird boosted 1,000 sats, says high signal will keep up the good work. Pies with 420 says, I got a Louisville slugger ready to beat the baby seals, LFG. Pies with another 420 says, non-compliance, this is the way. And yet another 420 from Pies, non-compliance, this is the way. And another 420 from Pies says, thank you, sir, no thank you. Aggie Choot, AGICHOOTE. If you know how to pronounce that, let me know. With the 100 says, and he does this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Each one is 100 sats, and it says the exact same thing. International Baby Seals Rights Organization is ready for a fight. Well, look, if you want to keep the baby seals safe, there's one way that you can do that. You can donate to the show. I have locked down a third time with my lawyer friend for the King Ranch, Tony. As far as I can tell, I'm going out there Monday the 26th with the mobile rig to her ranch to set up and do a face-to-face sit-down interview. I could use some gas money. Let's start there. It's going to cost me about, probably it's 2 hours either way. It's going to be about $45 in cash. So if you want to buy gas, you can do that through Boostagrams. You can do that through streaming Satoshis. If you do it through Boostagram, tell me gas money or something like that, and I will take it easy on the baby seals. All right, that's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. Orange Surf over on Nostr tweeted something out, or tweeted, God, I feel bad about saying that, noted something today. It said, using the public Mempool Accelerator API, you can now fetch a Lightning invoice to boost any transaction, integrate into your app/service today. Okay, so I started looking at this, realizing that this is one of these innovations that you can't sleep on. There's no sleeping allowed any longer. And for those people that say that there's nothing going on in Bitcoin, that there's no development, that's all horseshit, right? There is development going on. At this point, it's going on in levels outside of the actual core protocol. So in this particular case, if you've got a transaction and it's stuck, but you, for whatever reason, don't want to go back into your wallet software and use your wallet software to accelerate from that standpoint that particular transaction, you can go to Mempool. Now, this is the public Mempool. It's like, Mempool, was it mempool.space, right? That means that if you are privacy concerned, using the public Mempool to search up your transaction is not the best idea. Because somebody could be looking and say, "Oh, that must be his transaction." I use my own Mempool, but understand that my Mempool is on my Start9, and I'm pretty sure that some of those features are deprecated from mempool.space, the public Mempool. So I'm pretty sure, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be able to directly accelerate a transaction from my Start9 Mempool software. Now, that said, this is still pretty cool, because what does this mean? If you've got a stuck transaction and you don't mind using mempool.space to accelerate the transaction directly, you can simply go over to mempool.space, and then if you've got your transaction ID, you put that in the search bar. It will take you right to your transaction, and then you will have the ability to accelerate that thing. And anybody can accelerate any transaction. That's right. You don't have to accelerate your own transaction, because there's no way for Mempool to really know. So they've just basically opened it up. So like if somebody sends you a transaction and you're impatient, and they send you the transaction ID, you yourself can go put that transaction ID into the search bar and then accelerate directly from mempool.space. And that's anybody. It's out of beta. It looks like it's open to everybody. So I'm over here at mempool.space, and I'm just going to pick a transaction. So the transaction comes up, and then, let's see, down here, where is it? There's somewhere. Oh, yeah. So now that I've got the transaction up on the screen, which you can't see, so I'm going to try to describe it, I've got the transaction data, like when it was first seen, its ETA, its features, how much the fee for this particular transaction is just under $70, and the fee rate is at 3.01 Satoshis per VByte. There's a purple accelerate button in that transaction field. And the field below that is flow, and below that is inputs and outputs, and below that is more details. In the first field, the transaction field, right to the right of ETA is the accelerate button. Now, if I hit that accelerate button, it says, okay, I can accelerate to 12 Satoshis per VByte. And I can customize that. So I hit the customize button, and it gives me some data, it gives me some graphics that I can sit there and go, you know what? I don't want 12 Satoshis per VByte. I don't want to go down to 8 Satoshis per VByte. I'm going to accelerate it for the cost of 700,000 Satoshis, 19 Satoshis per VByte. Then I'm going to hit a purple accelerate button, because it's yet another accelerate button. And it's sitting there spinning, and it comes up with a Lightning invoice, an LNBC headed address, right? So now I can just simply pay this invoice through my GetAlby wallet, through the Lightning network, and just accelerate this transaction, which I'm not going to do. I have no idea who the hell this is, and I'm certainly not going to pay an additional $419 to do this shit. So I'm just going to turn this right off. But understand that what has just happened is they've basically given you a public button that you can just press and accelerate with a Lightning invoice any transaction in the mempool, whether it's your transaction, whether it's somebody else's transaction and they're sending you Bitcoin and you're just that impatient that you want that money right now, then you have the option to do that. Or for whatever reason, you feel like, I don't know, being magnanimous and accelerating somebody else's. But understand, there is constant development in this space. Now, let's get out of this space and go over to a crypto wallet that's holding $2 billion worth of Mt. Gox Bitcoin. It sends a test transaction as distribution continues, according to an Arkham report. CoinDesk, Christian Sandor has it, a crypto wallet that recently received $2 billion in Bitcoin from defunct exchange Mt. Gox trustee, initiated a test transaction on Tuesday, perhaps to prepare distributing funds to creditors, blockchain analytics firm Arkham Intelligence noted. Arkham analyst said that the wallet initiated the transfer. It's probably likely belongs to crypto custody platform BitGo, one of the 5 exchanges that distribute tokens to creditors. BitGo is the last remaining distribution partner, they added. The test transaction followed a $33,100 Bitcoin transfer 2 weeks ago, worth $2.2 billion at the time, from a Mt. Gox cold wallet holding creditors' funds. Arkham explained that the process of tagging the wallet as likely being BitGo in a Telegram message to CoinDesk, quote, "The address was clustered with a large input cluster which we were able to identify as BitGo due to custody structure and wallet types used," an Arkham analyst said. Quote, "We've also been able to identify the other FUR exchange partners used for Mt. Gox distribution, so there's also a process of elimination." And I have no idea what the other FUR exchange partners, I don't know what FUR means here, so please, it's possibly a typo. Who knows? Anyway, meanwhile, some users in a Reddit channel dedicated to Mt. Gox creditors reported that they received funds to their BitGo accounts. CoinDesk hasn't verified those claims, though. BitGo has not returned a request to confirm the transaction. Japan-based Mt. Gox was at one point the largest. Yeah, we know. So they go through just a little bit of history at the very end of that article. But that's all we need to know, is that these coins are still on the move. It's going to scare everybody. Everybody's, this is just nothing but fear and loathing in Las Vegas. So just be prepared for any kind of chicanery to go on. Mostly it's just going to be psychological. It's not going to actually be a whole bunch of people just automatically selling, but whatever. El Salvador, going down south, has announced a $1.6 billion investment that will kickstart Bitcoin City. Yeah, well, we've heard this story before. Andrew Thorvalis, Decrypt.co. El Salvador is getting a massive infrastructure investment that's expected to support the build-out of its visionary Bitcoin City. The government said on Sunday that Yieldport, a Turkish holding company, will invest $1.62 billion in 2 of El Salvador's seaports, making the largest private investment in the country's history. Quote, "This will be a mixed ownership company between the Yieldport Company and El Salvador, the country, which will operate both seaports for the next 50 years, said the government in a video statement shared by El Salvador President Nayib Bukele on Monday. The agreement is a product of Bukele's visit to Turkey in 2022. One of the ports involved is the Acajutla seaport, which handles most of the nation's exports of coffee, sugar, and balsamic salts from Peru. The other is the La Union seaport, an inactive and neglected seaport located where Bitcoin City is planned for construction." Oh, this is interesting. Stacey Herbert, head of El Salvador's National Bitcoin Office, retweeted a statement that the project will create thousands of direct and indirect jobs and more investment in underlying local infrastructure. Max Kaiser, Herbert's husband and also a member of the Bitcoin Office, characterized the deal as a Bitcoin City infrastructure investment. Quote, "Bukele's Turkey trip paid off bigly," he wrote on Twitter. "Qatar on deck." Well, Bitcoin City was first pitched in November of 2021 as a tax-free city that would fund itself through Bitcoin mining powered by its regional volcanoes rather than from its civilian power grid. The president shared a potential architectural model of the city in May of 2022, though little has been said of the project since that time. The city was supposed to be funded through El Salvador's long-anticipated Bitcoin bonds, but the fundraising effort has been postponed numerous times. The country has found alternative sources of capital, however, including a renewable Bitcoin mining partnership with Tether and a Freedom Visa program offered to generous, wealthy Bitcoiners. According to the Bitcoin Office website, El Salvador currently holds 5,840.76 BTC, currently worth around $345 million. It continues to add 1 BTC to its holdings every day. That's the end of the article, but if you'll remember, Bukele made that promise about a year and a half ago, or at least minimum a year ago, and said that every day, every single day, day after day, that they will buy 1 Bitcoin and add it to their treasury. I've seen some kind of evidence, given, that we can see their wallet, that may be occurring, but unless we continuously watch it, you never know what's going on with that thing. So, on to Zeus. Zeus has announced Olympus integrations with both Lightning.pub and Mutiny Wallet. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work, since Mutiny Wallet, the wallet itself isn't going away, but the people behind the wallet are moving on. So they're basically saying we're kind of done with Mutiny. I can only presume that Mutiny, being rather open sourced, is just going to be probably taken over by somebody and maintained, because it is a very good wallet. Anyway, Lightning.pub is a nostr powered Lightning node that simplifies the Uncle Jim model, allowing users to connect friends and family to their node. Pub introduces a nostr native account system, making node management easier than ever. This free open source software is available under the GNU AGPL version 3.0 license. Quote, in Pub, node management happens all under the hood. Multiple providers are available, with Olympus being the top provider for channels in excess of 3 million sats under current fee conditions. Smaller channels will leverage other service providers, Evan Kaludis wrote in a blog post. Here we go. The Mutiny team will shut down its wallet at year's end, but users can still self-host it indefinitely. Mutiny allows users to manually deploy a node on any server or platform. The Olympus by Zeus LSP will continue to work with the Mutiny wallet regardless of where it is deployed, and if you're using the self-custodial Lightning wallet in Mutiny, it will default to using Olympus by Zeus LSP. Developers looking to integrate Olympus into their app can explore the API documentation for Olympus by Zeus LSP services. So Mutiny is dead. Long live Mutiny. And I like the fact that Zeus immediately built an integration for their system into Mutiny Wallet as well as Lightning.pub. It's sad to see Mutiny team go away, especially given that where some of them are going, but it is what it is. And last up, MetaPlanet has bought yet another 500 million yen worth of Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin Magazine. Vivek Sen is writing. MetaPlanet, a publicly listed Japanese investment firm, purchased an additional 500 million yen, which is about $3.4 million US worth of Bitcoin, and this brings the company's total Bitcoin holdings to 303, acquired for 2.95 billion yen or $20 million. On August the 6th, MetaPlanet announced plans to raise 10.08 billion yen through a stock rights offering to expand its Bitcoin reserves. It followed on August the 8th with a 1 billion yen loan secured to buy more Bitcoin, and the firm is going on to aggressively purchase yet more Bitcoin. But I caution people, this is a very, very small investment firm in Japan that almost nobody had heard of until they started buying Bitcoin. So it's hype. I don't mean to say that these guys suck and that they're completely evil and that they're not going to do right. I don't know. That's the whole point, is I have no clue what's going on with these guys, but nobody had ever heard of them before this, and now all of a sudden MetaPlanet's in the news, MetaPlanet's doing this, MetaPlanet's doing that. And now it's like that name is on people's radar. And that just gives me a little bit of pause to think maybe they're just using Bitcoin to hype their name. Maybe it's just a marketing strategy. And if it is, it probably won't work out the way they think it's going to work out. But that's it for the day. And let's see what, hold on. Oh, my dog. I keep hearing these footsteps behind me, and it's my dog just walking around. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Stop walking around in a circle. Okay, so yeah, that's the end of the news that I got for you today. I've got a couple of people on the hook. I finally have an agreement with the James Ranch out in Durango, Colorado. They're just north of Durango. To do a sit-down interview this Christmas. So I think I'm going to make that a Christmas special. But I got a chance to talk at length with the cattle management guy. This guy named Joe, or Joseph. He handles all the cattle out there and does a couple of other things. And me and him sat down and kind of like just had a discussion about how we think about these things. And even though I'm not a rancher, me and the way that he thinks and the way that I think about the relationship between soil and ruminants, and the ruminants' relationship with humans, and the humans' relationship with soil and nutrition and beef, the attacks on ranchers that we're seeing out of various state governments, United States governments, as well as the media, all of that we're pretty much in agreement on. So I'm really excited that even though it's going to be all the way to Christmas, right, before I can even, sit down with this guy, it's going to be a face-to-face sit-down interview with the mobile recording studio out there at the James Ranch. I'm really excited about it. So be looking forward to that, as well as the King Ranch interview that I'll be doing with Tony Meacham coming up here pretty quickly. I think I'm going to talk to her on the 26th. And I'm going to start trying to not release the interview episodes like immediately the same day. Take a little bit more care with the show notes and art and stuff like that. Where usually I've been trying to turn them around the exact same day, because one of the things that I hate is when people sit on an interview for weeks and weeks and weeks. But there's no reason not to be able to sit on an interview for at least a day, a couple of days, just to make sure that product looks really, really good, sounds excellent, and has a lot of information that you guys can dig into. With all that said, I will see you on the other side.
This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.